This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome to this week's episode of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm JD.
I'm Jonathan. And I'm Drew. And this week we're talking tattoos. How long should you think before you ink?
I've seen some people that should have thought a little longer. We're also going to have Carmi Levy on, technology blogger, reporter, basically talking about whether or not technology is killing you.
And we'll be talking to the VP of BuzzFeed about digital trends and the new model of journalism in new media.
But first, we like to start every show with a roundtable discussion of all things that are on our minds, all things new. Jonathan, JD, what do we got?
I have something sizzly to talk about here.
Ooh,
I actually just want your opinions. So I was at a party earlier in the week, and, you know, everyone's having drinks, everyone's having a good time. Sometimes I listen in on conversations that are happening around me, behind me. I've got pretty good hearing. And I overheard the friend scenario conversation actually unraveling in real life. So these two people, and I know one of them, basically the girl that was there chatting with him had said, I don't want to date. I'm not interested in dating. We've known each other a long time, but I think we should have sex. And so that actually, and so right away I perked up because I heard sex.
Friends with benefits.
It was friends with benefits, and it was not like, you know, oh, I heard so and so. That I was actually witnessing it happening right there. So it brought up a good point. Have you ever had that proposal? And what did you say?
Well, before we move into that, what did the guy say?
It was very awkward, I have to admit. I'm sitting there. I was squirming in my seat, listening. He was fumbling all over his words. And to be totally honest, she was out of his league. She was totally out of his league. So he should have just said, yes, this is okay. But in the end, they sort of said, well, maybe this isn't the time or the place. And she thought it was the time. He didn't think it was the place.
How long ago was that? Because have you seen either of these people after the fact? Is it still happening? Do you know?
I haven't. In fact, I didn't follow. Because it's not somebody that I really know well enough that I could call and be like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah. Tell me who it is. I'm going to call them and I'm going to ask them.
Should I call them out on the radio right now? Maybe I'll do it on social media. I'll just post who it was and see if anyone noticed. Nobody reads that.
Well, I have had that proposal before, but what I found though is that it will always get awkward. I think that it can't stay that way. Somebody gets emotionally attached, and then it just gets awkward. And if you were friends first, I think that friendship may be lost after trying to do a casual.
What about this? What if you did date, and then of course maybe you broke up, maybe things didn't work, and so there's a time period where you sort of get over that emotion, and you're okay, you've moved on, you've maybe dated some other people, but then you're single again, and you kind of come back together without dating. Do you think it makes it a little bit easier? Because it's not that initial raw virgin emotion that, you know, this is the first time we were dating and now...
It's a familiar intimacy.
Well, yeah. I think that happens constantly because you have that familiarity with that person. You know what they're like. You know what they do like. So, yeah, I mean, we're all adults here.
It's not that JD thinks that happens often.
Yeah,
his personal life, he knows that happens often.
He's writing a book on it. Chapter 90.
I know there is that like I said, familiar intimacy, and I think that's something that some people can relate to. There's no awkward phase. I mean, I'm in a great relationship, so I don't have to worry about that.
You know what's getting awkward is us continuing to talk about this when there's so much more to talk about.
Okay, I'll tell you what I had that was sort of a little frustrating. So I'm a very positive person. I like to have fun and be positive. I don't like to be that negative nanny in the room. I don't know if that's a name, but I just made that up. Anyway, there's this one, I was stopping by like a Starbucks, and this one girl was that girl that is super morning person. It was quite an early morning before filming. It was like 7 o'clock. She was that super keen, friendly morning person. It's to the point that she's like singing "The Hills Are Alive" kind of a thing in the coffee shop, and everyone else is trying to just be quiet and get their coffee. It was annoying. It was so annoying. I wanted to say to the person, go stand outside and wait for your coffee because the rest of us don't want to hear you.
What does that make you look like though when you're
That's why I didn't say anything.
Stop being so positive and happy. That just doesn't.
Yeah, but there's going overboard. Like if you're talking to me and say, "Oh, hey, how's your morning? Oh, that's great to hear. Well, have a good day." That's one thing. But when she's like, butterflies and polka dots and rainbows of joy, and she's, you know, like frolicking around and being loud with her positivity.
So she was on crack and happy.
Pretty much.
This is what I think. If somebody is being sort of obnoxious about it, whether they're being happy or just loud or whatever they're doing, that's disrespectful because some people want to be private and they want to have a nice quiet morning and sort of work their way into their day.
think it's a front for depression. I bet you she stepped outside and
I don't know. I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that these people are all depressed. impressed. But it does remind me of my favorite quote by Oscar Wilde: "Only the dull are brilliant at breakfast."
That is a good quote.
I like that.
I do like that.
I'm,
All right,
not,
JD.
I'm not brilliant at breakfast.
JD, what's your topic this morning?
Well, what about Christmas? Christmas is coming up, and it seems to be everywhere already. Like it seems like Halloween just ended a little while ago, and now Christmas is in our face. And
I've already been singing Christmas carols. They're stuck in my head because we used to sing, of course, in a choir. We would go caroling at Christmas, stuff like that. So I get the tunes stuck in my head, and I will be singing them now through till the holidays.
But I saw, though, even some stores, they didn't even do Halloween decorating. They were already Christmas decorated before, and This is before Halloween. How are you doing that in, like, September? That's so much lead time.
And it's disrespectful, too. Halloween is one of, the most respected religious holidays out there, isn't it?
For the ghouls and goblins out there?
Exactly. I don't know. I think there's. I like the fact that there's more information to cover in the round table than we possibly could. We could do an entire episode of the Scott Brothers, of Off Topic rather, just on our round table topics.
Yeah. No, but I still have Christmas bells ringing in my head right now. But
should we give him a little carol?
Oh, do you want to?
What's the one we would carol with my dad? Joy to the world. We wish you.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King.
This probably sounds a lot better from our end, but for you listeners, I'm sorry.
Well, we got to take a quick break here, but when we return, we'll be talking to the owner of Precision Laser Tattoo Removal Service about what should be considered before getting a tattoo.
JD, how long did it take you to decide to get your first tattoo? Like, did you go back and forth a fair bit?
No, I got my first one at 17 in Mexico.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad didn't know about it.
Did it come with a rash?
I don't know. Don't forget to hit us up on our social media. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. Drew's at Mr. Drew Scott. And JD is, of course, at Mr. JD Scott. We love to hear from you guys and get feedback on the show. We'll be right back with more Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Thanks for tuning in to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Drew.
And I'm JD, and we are talking tattoos. Tattoo culture is making its mark on millennials. Artists and sociologists say that more urbanites are going under the needle as taboos fade. And I'm one of those people. I love tattoos. I love the art of it. I have a whole bunch of them on my body.
Exactly how many do you have?
I don't even know. I probably 10, 11.
Is it addictive? Because people say it's addictive.
Yeah, it's somewhat addictive. I mean, I like the art of it, so art never ends.
Interesting. Well, we're joined in studio by Mike McLean, owner of Precision Laser Tattoo Removal Service, to talk about why it's really important to think before you get a tattoo. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me, fellas. Glad to be on board.
I have one question before we get into any information here. Can you tell me what is the worst tattoo that someone has come in and asked for that you even said to them, are you really sure you want to get that?
Well, he's removal. So what's the worst one you've removed?
Removed, yes.
You're right. I'm doing the opposite. So in my line of work, I see a lot of pretty horrible artwork. There's no doubt about it. And, we try to keep our judgments aside, but, privately, we certainly have.
That may be in your office. Here, we judge, so.
Exactly. Oh, boy. I'll tell you, some of the worst ones I've seen include there is a demonic, there was one gentleman who came in, his entire calf was covered in this demonic Santa Claus who was smoking drugs. That was pretty harsh. We've seen some rather explicit images, things that just shouldn't be seen.
Do you have any tattoos, Mike?
I have no tattoos, no. I thought about it for years, and then when you're in this line of work, you kind of get jaded.
Yeah, well, and see, for me, I think, I'm not opposed to tattoos, and I've always thought, I would get a tattoo, but I wouldn't jump lightly into that. I'm not the guy who would just, get something or, someone's name put on my arm or something, because I am a realist in the sense that sometimes relationships don't last. Sometimes, you made a hasty decision. If I thought of the right thing, I would put it on. But then I also think, what would it look like as I get older and I get hangier and stretchier?
And what's right now may not be the right thing down the road. And that, I don't have any tattoos myself, but JD, for you, what made you want to get the tattoos, and are there any you want to get rid of?
Well, every single tattoo I have I thought about it for a long time. I designed it. I don't regret any of them. There is one that I will probably remove, but it's just because it's in a bad position now relating to my other tattoos.
Be honest,
So,
it's his tramp stamp.
it is my tramp stamp. I got it when I was 17. I was in Mexico. But it was something I planned. It wasn't like I wasn't drunk and on the beach. And
He planned it for a solid 4 minutes. And then, what is it?
It's like a compass, and there's a sun and a moon on it. And I still like it. I would put it somewhere else on me, but it doesn't fit where it is now.
For anybody who doesn't know the official term tramp stamp, that means a tattoo on your lower back. Now, Mike, do you have a lot of kids that have gone and made the mistake of getting a tattoo? Even I know you're not supposed to under a certain age, but people find ways to do it. Do you have a lot of kids that come in, or is it usually adults?
Yeah, well, most often it's adults, and the primary reason for that, aside from the fact that, of course, more adults have tattoos, is the fact that it's really expensive to get it removed. So, if you're 15 years old, you probably don't have the funds required to get it taken off, although perhaps your parents do. So,
what kind of a cost? Say it's just like a tattoo that's, maybe like 3 inches by 3 inches, something like that. What does it kind of cost?
Yeah, for something that size, you're looking at roughly $225 per session. And the thing is, it takes, anywhere from 6 to 12 sessions, depending on the colors, depending on your skin type.
Right.
So it's not a cheap undertaking whatsoever.
And it's painful. Like I heard if you're looking at, waxing your legs, laser hair removal, or tattoo removal on your legs, that there's no comparison. The tattoo removal is by far the most painful thing.
Yeah, exactly. I often clients ask all the time, and they say, does it hurt more to get it put on than taken off? I said, well, I've had a couple people tell me it was worse to put it on.
Yeah, that's because they went to Joe's back, yard.
Yeah, ink tattoo putters.
So that's something that I actually did wonder. Is there not like some sort of a cooling gel or something, like a thing you can rub on that makes it less painful?
We do that. Yeah. There's a topical numbing cream we apply. It's a lidocaine-based cream, and we tell our clients it's gonna help alleviate a lot of the discomfort. You're still gonna feel it though.
I've actually used that stuff too, getting tattoos, but it doesn't last for very long, I find.
Have you ever had anybody, Mike, who has come in, they've got a tattoo removed because it was a drunk decision, they hate it, and then the next week they were back getting another one removed because they went and got drunk again and got another tattoo?
Yes, on the same spot.
Oh my goodness!
Really?
Yeah, not often, but I've seen one gentleman in particular. I remember he came in for months and months because treatments are 6 weeks apart, so you're with us for a long time. And this one gentleman came in. He finally cleared off his upper arm, disappeared for about 8 months, and came back and said, "Okay, I don't like what I'm putting on."
That's terrible. Now, what do you find? I mean, I don't have any tattoos, but I would think that it's sort of an emotional thing because you're marking your body, you're permanently marking your body, and so it's got to definitely be an emotional decision and be an emotional right place to do it. Do you think, with that in mind, like, do men get more tattoos than women, or what do you think?
Statistically, not anymore. More women are getting tattoos than men at this point. I think the latest stats, there's different stats out there, and I know that the people between the ages of 25 and 40 are most likely to have them. About 40% of those people are likely to have them.
How many spelling mistakes?
You wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe how often people come in and just spelled something wrong. I had one guy who came in. He went out one evening. And he came back and he said, "Hey, honey, look at the tattoo. I got our wedding date put on." And she took a look at it and said, "That's not our wedding date, honey."
It was his ex-wife.
His other wife, yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to you have to ask yourself, am I going to like this in 10, 20, 30 years? If there's any doubt in your mind, you should not do it.
I just always say, picture, are you going to be a 90-year-old who's happy looking at your back and, seeing some sort of a phallic object? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks very much for joining us here today, Mike. Definitely appreciate your insight.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me, gentlemen. Have a great day.
I don't think I'm going to have any tattoos. I'm going to say tattoo-free.
It just comes down to asking yourself, is it worth it? Maybe not always. So
when we return after the break, we'll ask, how far would you go to make some more money?
Would you go so far as to cheat your way into some more cash?
We've got the details on one study when we return. Back in a moment with Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
We're back on Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network, and we're asking you, what would you do for a little extra cash?
Would you cheat your way into some more money.
Yes.
Let me speak. A University of Toronto study suggested that people who are feeling strapped for cash, they would use that as a motivator for immoral conduct at work.
So during this study, most participants said that being financially depraved is not an excuse for unethical behavior. However, after they lost money playing a game, they were more willing to be dishonest to restore their standing. And the researchers concluded that this leads people to this feeling of being justified. Which, I mean, this makes sense. People are like that. Like I've seen that many times.
Mm-hmm.
So
is it like the Robin Hood mentality that people feel, well, if you're stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, then it's okay?
So when they're the poor?
Yeah, I was
when they're
going to
the
say.
poor, yeah.
This sounds like a self-absorbed situation like that. But I think that that's obviously wrong. I wouldn't do that. I like to do everything on the up and up. And I know when I was a teenager, there were probably some times where I wasn't making the smartest adult decisions, and I was cheating my way into something like, even if it was like playing cards with friends or Monopoly or something. I mean, if I was falling behind and getting frustrated, I may have rolled a fake die or something like that.
That's different though. That you're playing. I mean, I have always, long time, I've had this philosophy that social programs are so important because I think that poverty really does breed that mentality that you need to bend the rules or not follow the rules in order to just, survive. It's natural instinct. Natural instinct is to survive. And so if you cannot afford to survive, I understand when you look in regions where there's extreme poverty, yeah, you have more crime because people are trying to survive. So I think it does make sense that if people who are strapped for cash, they are willing to make excuses and bend the rules.
But are you thinking, you say it makes sense, but do you think it's right that...
No, I don't think it's right at all. That's why I think, that people really need to take those steps to... I wrote a quote. One of the quotes that I wrote was specifically about that people, they need to try and better themselves. And actually, the quote that I wrote says, those willing to better their lives and their community should be given every opportunity possible. And it's true, because I think that if you're willing to go out of your way to improve your situation, then nothing should stand in your way.
Well, it comes to this mentality that I've seen so many times that people have, and it's the do anything it takes mentality. And I don't believe that. I don't think you should do anything. You shouldn't step on other people. You shouldn't be cheating. You shouldn't be stealing. You can achieve your goals and the things that you want to be doing in life without doing those things and lowering the bar.
Yeah, totally. And I actually think it comes down, not for everyone's situation, but for a lot of people, it's laziness, and it's not willing to put in the effort that they need to do to, have the financial sustainability or to have whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. They're looking for an easy way out or an easy way to get it.
Now, people will say, though, too, it's all fine and dandy for us to say this. We're sitting here, we're doing fairly well in our lives. But what if you were sitting there and your children are hungry?
Well, and that's what, like Jonathan was saying, I completely appreciate it. I mean, I would do anything for my kids if I had kids, but again, I just find it very hard, and maybe it's just my mentality is different, to break the law to do something. I think I would try and find an alternative way to get them food without trying to hurt someone else or steal from someone else.
And that's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. A lot of it is laziness. I think when somebody, chooses to break the law to do something, I can guarantee you that person has not made their best effort to do everything the right way. I mean, because you could, if you absolutely had to, there are programs out there where you can get meals. There are also, I'm sure, people who would, you go and help them maybe paint their house, and then they're going to provide some food or, something. There are a million things that you could do that would help instead of having to go and break the law.
And you want to be setting a good example. If you do have children, what is it saying to them if you're going to steal and cheat your neighbor or the next person to feed them?
I spoke to a friend, a prime example at the workplace. They say that employers are concerned because a lot of employees will start to cheat in order to make a little extra money. I was talking to a friend who works for an airline, and now everything's cashless in the cabin. You have to have a credit card. The reason they did that was because the flight attendants, the people that were working for the airline, they were stealing from the cash that you would pay for your drinks and pay for your stuff on board. And that's, a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. But over the year, I guess these airlines were, collectively losing millions of dollars. And it does add up. So at what point is it okay, which I don't think it is, but some people will bend and say, oh, I'm just taking a couple bucks here. I'm just taking a couple of bucks there. It's
taking is taking. That's what frustrates me when people say, even if it's just something small, even if it's jaywalking or something like that, oh, it's just a jaywalking. I'm not really breaking a law. Well, I mean, you are still breaking the law. It's a small thing, and I know a lot of people do it, but you can't categorize yourself there. And if it's, I'm only stealing $1, stealing is stealing. You're stealing.
I actually not necessarily agree with that. I don't think jaywalking is the same as stealing. I definitely am against stealing 100%, but I will jaywalk. I will run across the street. I'm not.
That's why
You are a criminal.
You remember the movie Office Space?
Yes,
and
of
so the
course.
guys developed this software. They work for the bank. They developed this software that I thought, JD, you worked for a bank. Why didn't you think of something like this? They developed this software that would round, instead of rounding the interest up on an account, or the transfers, it would round the percentage of a cent down and take that extra percentage of a cent and put it into a side account. Well, what ended up happening is the decimal point was off by a couple. So every transaction that the bank did, it would transfer like $5 into an account. Well, within a couple of days, there were millions of dollars in this account, and of course they got caught.
This sounds amazing.
It was hilarious, but it's true. I mean, these guys thought, it's fractions of a cent. It's fractions of a cent. Who's going to care? Who's going to notice? No, it's still stealing. That's exactly what it is. It's still stealing, and I think that people need to just buck up, and they need to start looking and realize that the hard way is usually the more rewarding way, is usually the better way. Don't take the lazy way.
You know what I would say too, if you are having a hard situation and you need the extra money or you need something, look to someone who has the experience in that area and they can help you or educate you, because a lot of times it's the lack of education in your situation that leads you to this sort of thing. But I mean, that's it. At the end of the day, people who are properly compensated at work, that's another thing. They can actually, they won't lean towards that immoral behavior. So if you're the employer, I would say look at ways that you can give extra perks to your employees.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk to Carmi Levy, blogger, tech expert. Going to talk about why technology is killing us.
We got to take a quick break, but remember to hit us up on social media, telling us what you've ever done that's seedy or, to make a quick buck. I'm at Mr. JD Scott, Jonathan's at Mr. Silver Scott, and Drew is at Mr. Drew Scott. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm JD.
I am Jonathan.
And I'm Drew, and we're at a crossroads with technology. That was Jonathan's technology voice.
Yeah.
Well, it affords us so many benefits. Could it also be hurting us at the same time?
Yeah, we're joined on the line by Carmi Levy, who we've had on the show before, talking about technology and how it's created a whole new list of problems for humans due to our dependency on it, due to how long we spend on the technology every day. Hey, Carmi, you there?
Yeah, I am, guys.
Thanks for joining us again. This is a lot of fun. I could talk all day about technology, and this is something that is kind of avoided. People like to talk about the cool features that are coming out and all of this, but they don't talk about all of these ailments that are actually affecting us. So why don't you elaborate a little bit?
That's right. Well, for example, I like to call it the dark side of technology, is that we always pay attention to the features and the gadgets, but after using those gadgets for a while, if they start to hurt us, that doesn't seem to get the headlines. We've heard, everyone knows about carpal tunnel syndrome or repetitive stress injuries, and those have been around for a generation, really, since the PC became pervasive, both in offices and at home. And I think if your wrists start to hurt after you're at the keyboard for a while, or long after you're at the keyboard, you're suffering from it. And so now, that's been a problem. But now everyone's going mobile. We're carrying smartphones. We're carrying tablets. We're schlepping laptops on our shoulders and sitting with them on our laps for hours.
I love to
end.
schlep my laptop.
Me too, and my shoulder is paying the price. But that's the thing. Our body is paying the price. And when you're sitting on the couch and sort of craning your neck to read your tablet for hours on end, what is that doing to us? And we're starting to see study after study that shows we're not doing anything good to us.
Is that chicken neck? Is that what you call chicken neck? Because I saw that term, like geek neck. Is that from when you're slumping down over the couch on your computer?
It is, and I was sitting on the couch last night, and I'm reading some research on it, and I realized I was doing exactly the same thing. I had my iPad kind of sitting on my lap, and my head was kind of sticking out over. And after about an hour, I realized, my God, this thing hurts not good.
You know what's so funny? When you just said that, I looked around the studio here, and Jonathan, JD, and our producers, Britt, Laura, and Linda, every one of them at the same time straightened their backs up. It was awesome. So what are some other terms? What are some weird terms? Because I heard toasted skin syndrome. That just sounds nasty.
It is, and right now, as I sit here speaking to you, I've got my laptop sitting on my lap, and this thing's been going for a while, and it's warm. And so basically what it is it essentially cooks your skin on your lap from sitting for a very long time, because your laptop can get hot after a certain amount of time. If the
My laptop is always hot.
Yeah, and it's blowing hot air on you. It's not good. Sometimes when I sit in shorts, after a while I pick it up and I realize my legs are red from my laptop, and I realize they call it a laptop, but I got to stop that.
I've had that happen as well, but I laugh because I remember when I used to be on a BlackBerry, and then people were saying to me like, no, you'll love it. Go over to iPhone. It's a digital keyboard, blah 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 blah. But somebody told me that the concept of BlackBerry thumb, because you're pressing those keys all the time and stuff like that. And it's true. I used to get sore thumbs from doing that, but now there's another one that there's what they call the iPad hand and like eye posture.
That's right, and it's really the same thing, because you're holding the iPad in one hand and you're tapping with the other. And yes, I know the iPad gets lighter and lighter with each generation, but it's still the new one is about a pound or a little bit more than a pound if you have a case on it. That's still a lot of weight to balance in your hand for an extended period of time, while your other hand is kind of smacking down on it. Your hand wasn't designed to do this. And I can, my friends, the orthopedic surgeons look at me and they go, "You're going to be my best client eventually because you're doing all the things wrong." And one of them is holding my tablet. But of course, if I put the tablet back in my lap, there I go with geek neck again. So
maybe we're going to evolve. Evolution's going to continue. We're going to evolve to have these giant knuckles and big fingers that can handle texting or something like that.
God, I find with my iPhone
I hope so.
It's all about repetition.
Right now, my
same number.
Is killing me.
Yeah.
Over and over.
You know what I do? Okay, and I don't know if you guys have had this. So I hold my iPhone in my right hand, but I use both thumbs to type on my iPhone. However, I place the bottom of the iPhone so it doesn't slip out of my hand.
Yeah, I get that.
I place it on my pinky finger, and my finger gets really sore because I'm pushing down on my pinky finger.
That's because you're an idiot.
And it wasn't designed to have that pressure on it, sort of pushing down on the side.
Forget about all the physical things. What about the psychological ones? I read an article about FOMO, and it's a disorder. It's fear of missing out. The people are so addicted to their updates on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. They're so afraid of missing something that their friends are doing that they have actually developed this anxiety disorder that they feel they have to fit in.
Yeah, nobody wants to be off the grid, because if everyone's talking about something that literally just happened and you haven't checked your smartphone in the last 5 minutes.
What a loser.
Poor you, goodness. Maybe we shouldn't be your friend. And so, of course, you keep that smartphone within arm's reach of you all day long, and you're constantly fishing it out of your pocket or out of its holster, looking at it, putting it back, looking at it, putting it back. You look ridiculous. Your teachers and your boss are probably glaring at you, but, you don't have a choice, because heaven forbid you don't see that latest Rob Ford video.
I never do that.
The one that I actually do is the phantom vibrations. I always think, oh yeah, there goes my phone. No.
When a new phone comes out, when the new iPhone came out and everyone gets the new iPhone and everyone has their ringer set to the same factory setting. Oh my goodness. Every 2 minutes I'm looking at my phone thinking I missed a call.
Well, yeah, we actually have a term that's called the JOMO. It's the Jonathan thinks he's missing out.
Now.
But so do you find what's that healthy balance for people? Because obviously technology is here for a reason. These phones, tablets, they're all benefiting us for keeping us organized, up to date. I don't have to go home at night and check 200 emails at one time. I get them throughout the day. What's the healthy balance?
The healthy balance is you got to set limits. Like, here in our house, supper is a screen-free zone. And so the tablets, the smartphones, they get put away before we eat. And so for that half hour that we're at the table, we take a break from the technology. You sort of have to decide when it goes on in the morning and when it goes off in the evening. And when it's off, it's off. Certainly there are some times when it's an emergency, but for the most part, you've got to sort of put it in a box, because if you don't, you're going to be using this stuff 24/7, and eventually it's going to kill you.
I feel we're all dying anyway. Why not just be apprised to what's going on around us while we're dying?
Jonathan just wants to die with one more Snapchat. He just has to get one more in.
Well, if I don't post that Vine, I tell you, I'm dead anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like a diet and well-being. Everything in moderation. That's the healthy way of technology. But thanks very much for joining us.
How has technology impacted your life and health? Hit us up online, social media, Facebook and Twitter. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. We have at Mr. Drew Scott and at Mr. JD Scott. But don't hurt yourself while doing it.
And when we return, I'll tell you how cleaning your gums can help improve your sex life. Who knew?
I need that.
You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
We're back on Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Drew.
This is Jonathan.
And I'm JD. Before the break, I said I was going to tell you how flossing can improve your sex life. But in fact, it does a whole lot more than making you a superstar in the bedroom.
I've actually flossed 6 times on the break.
And you're just with us?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it says flossing can protect your heart. I actually had no idea. There was a study at the Hiroshima University where they calculated that those with fewer than 24 teeth, and I didn't even know this, that adults are supposed to have 32 teeth, they're 60% more likely to suffer a stroke. So I'm glad I have all my original teeth.
I'm not following, though. How is it that floss makes your sex life better? Exactly.
Jonathan doesn't even want to talk about the heart. He wants to go straight to the sex life.
You teased us into this segment. I want to know what it is. And
the heart, strong stamina, that's a part of sex. No, but that was actually the second part of this study. It said that it helps the penis. Basically, it helps with erectile dysfunction. I don't really understand fully why flossing would do anything for you down there.
You don't understand because you floss a lot. You've never had to.
I never had the issue. Yeah. But now, are we talking about flossing our teeth, or is this a fancy term I don't know what it refers to?
Is this room filled with metaphors right now?
What are we flossing
When you're
here?
wearing a thong, that type of flossing is not good for your sex life. No, but I mean, right there, okay.
I see what it says. It says here in this study that it's because it's saying here that, for example, if somebody's losing steam in the bedroom, it could actually be because there's bacteria passing into the bloodstream from his gum. So if somebody is not flossing, it can actually impact you through the bloodstream, which, of course, something fills up with blood when that stuff is happening.
What does?
I don't understand. I'm not a doctor or anything like that. So.
On top of that, though, I mean, just in my mind, I would think that it would affect your sex life because if you don't floss, you're going to get crappy breath because you have bacteria build up in your mouth, and who knows if that develops halitosis.
You'll get less sex if you have bad breath.
Yes.
So. Basically, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Now that makes more sense.
Or your partner will put a bag over your head.
Okay, so that's what they're saying. So it's basically a blood-related thing if you're getting a bacterial infection from gum disease. But I do know excuse me, that it doesn't just affect men. It's also women as well. They said that you can sort of ease hormonal issues too by flossing. So I assume it has something to do with the same sort of bacterial growth.
Yeah, I was saying having that nice balance with your oral health, or having a steady routine with oral health and keeping yourself healthy in your mouth helps balance your hormones.
Does flossing help me bulk up and beef up so I don't have to go to the gym as much?
Well, no, but it does help you get skinny.
There you go.
How does that help you? That is not a workout to floss your teeth. How does it make you skinny?
Well, that's basically it, you know. 1 tooth, 2 tooth. No, I'm just joking. It was actually saying that, you know, with the having stuff lurking in your mouth, plaque and whatnot, it's the same thing. Through your blood system, it can actually affect your body, and that can affect certain things that help your body maintain regular weight or stop you from gaining extra weight. And I don't know. I mean, I did study kinesiology, but I didn't get into the tooth science of anatomy in the body. But I
feel like that's somebody jumping on the bandwagon of, yes, flossing is healthier too. I mean, I read one thing that it did say something. It was to do with periodontitis and gum disease, basically, and your body composition. And, you know, that means that those with higher levels of fat are more likely to have gum disease, things like that. So I don't know if it's really a study so far that's saying if you do floss, you'll be skinnier, or if it's just that if you are overweight, you're more likely to get gum disease.
This is one of those things that it comes up a lot because it has to do with a lot of different things, and it's like anything else in life. If you do one good thing, it's going to affect other good things. You know, it just makes sense.
They did say here, though, that this isn't just a one-time study. I mean, this has been done. Scientists have studied this in several different parts and came to similar conclusions that flossing regularly can affect you. Jonathan is literally flossing right now as we speak.
I'm kind of grossed out because I am sitting closest to him, and you know what? Stuff flies out of your mouth when you're flossing.
You're in the shooting radius
That's only
right
when
now.
Drew does
I am the mirror right now.
Has anybody ever seen Drew in the room? I'm talking not in general. Has anyone ever seen Drew floss?
No.
He is a flick flosser. It goes
projectile
to the mirror.
flosser.
Because I'm like a quiet, humble flosser. You know, so maybe that's why it hasn't improved my sex life. But yeah, that's why I keep things in. I don't want things flicking around the room. Anyway, we're off topic as per usual. So you guys you said that you can apparently relieve joint pain, stuff like that with it.
I would think it would be like, texting all the time on your BlackBerry. If you do more flossing, it would give you more joint pain in your hands. Too much work.
But you can actually overfloss. I've heard that you can overfloss to the point where you do more damage. You can get your gums to recede. You can cut your gums, things like that. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if people just get in and they're a little bit too aggressive, then more damage.
Almost all these things in the study that we're looking at, it's this can lead to this, can lead to this to help you out. So it's not like you're immediately helping diabetes by doing a floss session.
And by no means is this an accredited study happening right now with this discussion, because I saw this heading come up. I saw this come up and I thought, that is bizarre. I need to know how this improves my sex life.
Honestly, I think there are a lot of other areas you can work on to improve your sex life that are not flossing.
Taking a shower,
or like having sex and being good at it.
Yeah, yes, practicing over and over. So basically, we're putting it out to anyone who wants to send us in what you think are some of the best things that we can do to practice safe floss and sex. Is that what the topic would be?
Safe flossing? I don't know. I guess, so in a nutshell, it's determined that bacteria from gum infection can slip into your throat. It can take the fast track into your airways and your upper respiratory tract, into your bloodstream, and that's what can cause these other health issues. So it's not necessarily the act of flossing so much as reducing the gum disease that's healthy for you.
Jonathan, I think you need to floss again because I can see something in your teeth. So we're going to take a floss break, and when we return, we're talking to Jonathan Perlman, BuzzFeed's VP of Agency Strategy and Industry Development. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us today with Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Drew.
And I'm JD. And we're joined on the phone by Jonathan Perlman, the VP of Agency Strategy and Industry Development at BuzzFeed. So if you want to stay on top of the most current events, popular news, cultural items, you want BuzzFeed on your list.
Yeah, absolutely. BuzzFeed combines a technology platform for detecting viral content with an editorial section or selection process to provide a snapshot of the viral web in real time. A key component of BuzzFeed's ongoing mission, though, to sort, certify, and promote the viral web is using these badges and tags like LOL or ew, and these are available for users to award to posts, effectively sorting them into categories for other users to find.
Basically, it comes down to if you just want to see something funny, you click on the LOL tab, and all the stories are related to something funny. I always go to the ew tab because
pictures of Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. It's just something that's bizarre and gross or strange. But I want to thank you for joining us today, Jonathan.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. It's really great to be here.
And by the way, when I say the ew tab has pictures of Jonathan, I'm talking about my Jonathan here, not you. But tell us, where did BuzzFeed come from? And also, how did you get the name?
I was going to correct you on that. I wanted to make sure listeners weren't thinking it was me. But anyway, so BuzzFeed's about 6 years old, actually, a little over 6 years old. And it was started by Jonah Peretti, our founder and CEO. And Jonah was actually one of the three founders of the Huffington Post. But what Jonah was always curious about, what he had studied since his days in graduate school, was really how content spreads online. That was before the days of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and the social networks. But he was always fascinated by some experiments he had done while in college and what had happened after he had sent around emails. I mean, just basic email forwards. In a couple examples, he ended up on the most popular morning network shows in the States simply because he had hit forward. And so his mission was always to study and understand how and why content spreads in the digital age. And with the rise of social, it just became an imperative for him to start his own company.
Actually, I could have saved him all that time that he went to school. I could have saved him all that hard work and everything. If you want something to go viral, you just have to have a cat dancing in it. That's all it is.
Or a picture of Miley Cyrus.
Well, don't joke. It's actually not a joke. Cats are vital. Understanding cats on the social web is vital to understanding popular culture and how things spread. It's 100% true. And that's the early days of BuzzFeed was just studying cats. I mean, studying animals online, cat memes, videos, pictures, how it all spread. So it's fundamental to the social web cats. I mean, it's crazy, but
That's
true.
hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious to me because I bug our producer, one of our producers for one of our shows. She loves cats. She's all about cats, and we joke that she's the crazy cat lady. And then she's always sending us these videos of cats doing goofy things, and I do love them, and I watch them. But to actually know that was a purposeful thing to study these cats and having them online and how that affects people, that's pretty funny.
Well, it's almost like the whole America's Funniest Videos thing. The thing that always got the most laughs were baby videos, animals, and getting punched in the crotch.
Right. Yes, and animals are there's a lot of sort of thought that goes into this and study, and we won't talk about it now, but people love animals, and when you see a cute animal, you can't help but smile and laugh. And if you start to think about what young people, millennials, the 18 to 34-year-olds, what they really want when it comes to leisure content, they don't care about the $4 million house renovation or the $10,000 trip. It's like if they can see a cat doing something funny or a dog and doing something cute, they like that stuff, and they pass that stuff around on the web.
Well, tell me, with the you said 6 years, I think you said, that BuzzFeed has been going. What do you find are the topics that you had no idea they would go viral, that people would love, the really off, random, weird things that people just ate up?
Well, what's been so interesting for me to witness at BuzzFeed is the growth of hard news, of real breaking news. BuzzFeed, up until December of 2011, was really that lightweight sort of cat meme site, as people came to think of it. Then in December of 2011, hired Ben Smith from Politico, a serious journalist, to be the editor-in-chief, to do serious news in the lead-up to the 2012 presidential election in the U.S. And the idea was, well, we've sort of figured out a little bit how the social web works, and a lot of it's about breaking news. And so let's start to get some of that serious news reporting, some of that serious journalism happening. And today, it's remarkable to see when there's a, often tragic, but a world event, we see traffic to BuzzFeed.com just spike in the minutes afterwards. People are coming to us for news, but we still do the funny, the cat, the nostalgia. I mean, we have a whole vertical on what it was like growing up in the 80s and 90s.
Well, and I think BuzzFeed, too, it offers that ability to get your editorial, but also to get some entertainment. And, I much prefer, logging on, to the internet and hitting BuzzFeed than, turning on the news. And I find that 99% of the stories on the news on TV tend to be depressing or horrific or something terrible and other shootings happen. Whereas if I go into BuzzFeed, I can sort of break it up. I actually can get some information there, but then I can also get some laughs.
Well, that's one part I do like about BuzzFeed is the shocking stuff, too, because I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was this post of giant killer hornets, and they're huge. They're like hand-sized. That was, yeah.
Well, it's a quick and easy way to get a little bite of information or different topics instead of sitting through an entire story on if you're watching TV and the news. You get a quick bite of it, and you can scroll along to the next thing if you want. What's in store for BuzzFeed in the coming year?
Well, you guys have said it. It's really about the nutritious and delicious content that we offer, both hard news and the silly, lighthearted stuff. I think going forward for us in the next year, it's going to be branching out into more things. We're going to be doing more hard news and also covering the topics that people care about, understanding the zeitgeist of the web. One of the beauties is that, who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows what the next viral sensation is going to be? But we're going to pick up on it really quickly. And that's what's exciting about BuzzFeed, is that we can do stories that are serious, stories that are funny, but also stories that we know are going to resonate and travel across the social web.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. That was great. But unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Special thanks also to our guest, Carmi Levy, and Mike McLean earlier.
Excellent contribution to the show. It's nice just to get a wide variety of topics covered.
Don't forget to hit us up on our social media. We love to hear from you. What do you want us to talk about on Off Topic? On Twitter, I'm Mr. Drew Scott. Jonathan's Mr. Silver Scott, and JD is Mr. JD Scott. And you always check out our website, thescottbrothers.com.
Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat again shortly. You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. Want more of the Scotts? Check them out on TV. Catch the Property Brothers and Buying and Selling on W, a Corus Entertainment company.